Welcome back to Castle Combe, and the temperature's gone through the roof, and I think this championship is about to go through the roof as well. We've actually got a car off opposite me, opposite the pit lane from the previous championship that was out there, so there may be a couple minutes delay to this. We're stood in the pit lane at the minute. The heat, honestly, from the sun is pretty savage, and I think the difference being from qualifying for these guys is just going to be the tyre temperature. Mickey Butler from Goodyear was telling us that it'll be absolutely fine, and I'm sure all the cars are going to be all good, and the tyre temperatures will be all pretty static. But I will say, as a driver myself, it's going to be so hot in there as we look here. Car 14, Danny Crivier, he's looking pretty intense there. He's going to give us a wave, hopefully. But yeah, in there, he's all in black as well, so that sometimes doesn't help, but I'm sure all these guys are pretty well vetted and they're going to be absolutely sound. Interesting one in the pit lane. The person I was going to speak about, a couple of people actually, as we look down the grid. All these guys in little pit garages of their own. They're pretty cool. To get the whistle now, they'll be starting the engine up in a second, but if we just turn our attentions all the way around, Darrell Wilson is somebody that I want to talk about in the green Vauxhall Astra. Absolutely spot on drive from him. P6 he was, look at that. If you look in there, he's giving it the big I am, and so he should, because the team have fought really well to get him out on the track. He missed Silverstone, remember, but this car and this track seeming to suit him, and I'm sure he's going to go well. I was going to try and get a word with him, but to be fair, he's fully caged up now. Actually, it looks like he could come on, let's go and have a quick word with him, because Darrell's proper guy. Darrell, don't know if you can hear me, mate, but yeah, Silverstone wasn't great because you weren't there, but it's great to be back here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, qualifying went well, to Chief. I'm happy with the 6th place I got. Everybody else tested on Thursday, so we came in it blind. I haven't been here in 2 years, so yeah, and I was like a second and a half fast. So.
Oh, mate, two years you ain't been in. Anything changed? It's just a bit bumpier.
Yeah, just a bit bumpier.
Are you looking forward to the race? Because honestly, mate, and this is no disrespect, I didn't think you'd be in the top 6. That is a proper effort.
Yeah, neither did I, telling the truth. When I seen that time come up, 108, a low 108, I thought, oh yeah, that's it. I'm happy now. I come in, but the car got a pace. We did a little bit more adjustment on the rear end. Yeah, a little bit looser because of the heat. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What about your dad, Les? I can't see him around. He might be he might be waiting for you on the grid actually before you get called. How's he feeling? It's good to see his son back out there, isn't it?
Yeah, he's over the moon. Actually, with the 6th place I got without no testing, yeah, the whole team happy for me. So yeah. Come on, mate. What do you think you can get, mate? Can you get on the podium from here? Are you thinking that maybe the championship guys up the front may cause themselves a bit of grief? What are you thinking? What's going on? What's your mindset on this one? Yeah, I think that they're going to be fighting at the front, and with the heat on this track, I think that the tyres are going to go off. So my main plan is to shape my tyres to the end, and then hopefully I should be able to pounce on them. Yeah. And last question, mate, I'll let you go. What about the setup of the car? Have you changed anything? Have you softened it off because of the heat? Roll bars? What have you done? We've got stiff on the rear end to make it loose, more grip. We had way much too grip in qualifying. We're making the front understeer. So yeah, hopefully the back end should be more looser, and it should not make it the front end understeer as much. Top man, listen, I'll let yourself get strapped back in because I think we will be going in a short while, fella. But good luck. Let's see if we can speak to anyone else. Will Powell, if you can follow me, let's see if we can just get down here. We'll try, guys, because I know sometimes the electronics of the cars can interfere. Good friend of mine, actually, Axeman. Do you know what? I'm going to speak to Axeman. Richard, to his friends. What's going on? How impressed are you with coming back to Castle Combe? It's a proper scary place. Do you feel sorry for him in there?
Yeah, definitely. For first time in front wheel drive, yeah, first year.
I think he's actually done not too bad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah, it's improving each time. So.
Can you tell us about the setup change of the car from qualifying, as you're an engineer, from qualifying coming to the race? The ambient temperature's up.
Yeah.
Tarmac's bad as well, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll make some changes to damping, bit of camber. But that'll be it here for us, and then we'll learn from this one and move forward for the second race. So,
and Will, who's driving the car, let's get a quick word with him if you don't mind. He's guarding you, mate, like your dad. First time here, I couldn't think of a worse place to come, mate. It's the scariest track in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. We got to just try and keep our nose ground and get a half decent result if we can. On one hand, you've got that reverse grid for the next race in the back of your mind. On the other hand, you just want to get around in one piece. Very much a learning season in touring cars. I'm used to GT cars, and this is very different. Massive respect to you and everybody that does cars, because it is a real different discipline. But it's mega, and I'm loving it, and I'm loving the weather. And I just want to get going now, get this done.
I love it, loving the weather, mate. The weather, though, is pretty warm, is it? How hot does it get in the cars? I was just telling the viewers at home, I remember it can get up to like 50 degrees in there.
Yeah, I don't know an exact temperature, but it's uncomfortable. I'm a bigger lad as well, so I get a sweat on. It's like being in the sauna after we've been in here. But I'm lucky because I've got windows that go down a little bit, so I might allow myself a little bit of that today. We'll see.
I was going to ask you about your switches on the steering wheel. It's these TCR cars in particular have a lot of switches, but have you got any aircon or anything?
Aircon? No aircon. That's too luxurious, I think, for this one. But no, just the breeze from the window, and that'll have to do me.
Top man. Listen, I think engines are going, so we're going to head back. Thank you, gentlemen. Engines are going. Cars are actually moving out of the pit lane, so if we follow out of the pit lane here, just keep following me. We're going to go straight on, but we're going to leave these guys to it, and we're going to go over now to our lead commentator, an absolute gentleman, Andy McEwen.
Tell you what, Paul, you can come again. I like that intro. Really excited now. About to get the cars out on the circuit at one of my favourite racetracks in the country, one that always produces good drama, one that we haven't raced at actually for a number of years now. 2018, the first year of TCR UK, we came and visited Castle Combe. It was a huge success. The local fans really enjoyed it. They've been crying out for us to return every year since. So we're back and looking forward to two really good races today. As Paul said, the cars are about to head out onto the grid. There are no pit garages here at Castle Combe, so the cars are sort of all reversed into these makeshift garages. They then head out onto the circuit where they'll form up in their correct grid positions and then head out on to their green flag lap to start the 20-minute race a little bit after that. Qualifying this morning was pretty entertaining. In fact, it looks as though we're going to see a bit of a shuffle, perhaps, of the championship standings over the course of today's two races. If you didn't join us at Silverstone, what was it, about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, then you missed a really very entertaining start to the season. Max Hart and Lewis Kent sort of dominated proceedings, really, a win and a second place apiece, which means that they arrive here at Castle Combe as the joint championship leaders. Lewis Kent ran out of the family-run Essex and Kent motorsport team. Max Hart also in a Hyundai, but of course Max at the wheel of the 101 car is run out of Maximum Motorsport, so two different teams running the same car, and it's fascinating to see how the two teams have fared a little bit differently this weekend, because at Silverstone they were absolutely inseparable, Max and Lewis, but here at Castle Combe, Max definitely seems to have a little bit of an edge. Dan Kirby is third in the championship. That's the same position at which he's qualified for today's first race, so he is going to be looking for another good haul of points. Darren Lewis was the other driver that made it onto the podium at Silverstone, but Darren in the NGTC spec Mercedes A-Class is a little bit further off the pace here this weekend. So the cars then making their way out onto the circuit. When they line up on the grid, it will be Max Hart on pole position, and alongside him Jack Constable in the number 11 Cupra, who had a bit of a weekend to forget at Silverstone actually. He was quick, had flashes of pace in what was his first ever race weekend in a front wheel drive touring car, but some issues in the races, including a puncture in race 2 that put him off the road completely. It just didn't really quite click for him. He's clearly clicked with this place and has stuck it on the front row of the grid. Dan Kirby, as I mentioned, third in the championship, is third on the grid for this race, with Lewis Kent alongside joint championship leader Lewis Kent. The team left scratching their heads a bit after qualifying, trying to work out why they were that little bit further off the pace, but Lewis Kent and his younger brother Bradley, who was a real star at Silverstone, although again another driver who was a little bit low on good fortune, they will line up 4th and 5th respectively, with Darrell Wilson, who Paul spoke to a moment or two ago, 6th on the grid. We've also of course got the Maximum Networks VW Racing Cup cars out there. Now we are down, we think, to 4 VWs unfortunately. Chris Wallace had a pretty nasty shunt in qualifying where he lost it up at the top end of the circuit through Bobby's. It wasn't through Bobby's, it was just before Bobby's, before Tower, where he went off and swiped a marshal's post. He and the marshals, for that matter, are all absolutely okay, but the car is not. So Chris Wallace will not be there. He was due to line up fourth on a grid that is headed by Jack Depper and Ollie Turner, who were very much the pace setters at Silverstone. Got into a bit of a boxing match in, and I believe after race 2 at Silverstone. There was a bit of a disagreement between the two, but they apparently have put it all behind them, and let's hope so, because they're sharing the front row of the VW grid here today. Jack Depper on pole, Ollie Turner alongside him, with Russell Joyce third on the grid. Riding on board there with the number 77 of Will Powell, who was supposed to make his touring car debut at Silverstone a few weeks ago, but Will had a few electrical gremlins that kept him from racing, so this is instead going to be his debut in the championship. So the cars then line up on the grid. Paul O'Neill has joined me again up here in the commentary box, and it's actually cooler inside, I think, than it was outside. Paul, it looks like it's getting pretty toasty out there.
I tell you what, mate, that's proper burnt me bald spot, that has, being out there, Andy. That was savage, mate. Do you know what, honestly, I think it's because there's no real wind about the track, so you really do feel it, and you could tell. I was just speaking to Will Powell, and you could see that he was perspiring a touch. So it wasn't great for him.
Yeah, put us in the driver's seat, actually, because when it's hot at a racetrack, we often talk about two things: the spectators, who love it, and the drivers, who hate it. But we usually mention that it's the tyres and the brakes that overheat, but the drivers overheat as well. I mean, you don't have, your cushy little air conditioning in those cars, do you?
No, not at all, no. Do you know the funny thing was, I always remember being at Snetterton, and it was like 55, 56 degrees centigrade inside the cockpit of a touring car, and the one thing that you do get is, it's not, you just think, oh, you sweat a lot. You don't. You start to puff and you start to pant, and it's a really, really horrible feeling as you're trying to steer those cars around. Even though they have electronic power steering, they're still very difficult to turn when they're fully loaded. These are big, slick Goodyear tyres that are on the car, so you've got to be, very efficient and just make sure that you don't overdo it.
Two Hyundais and two Cupras on the front two rows of the grid here today. Looks as though this balance of performance, which drivers do nothing but complain about, is doing its job, isn't it? Because we've got much more equal competition at the head of the field. What do you reckon, though? Can this Jack Constable lad come in and sneak a victory?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a massive fan of all the drivers on the grid, but I must say, Max Hart and the Kents especially, they just look super fast, controlled aggression. But I've got to say, Max Hart he's opened my eyes around this circuit in particular. He's been unbelievable, and I think that Jack will know about the weight that car on the front row of the grid is carrying, and like we were speaking, weren't we, before to Max, and he actually agreed with me that it might be difficult. It's a long run off the line and a long run up the hill to the first corner. That weight that he's carrying for balance of performance could be the undoing of him on the first lap, but if he gets a great start, the momentum will carry him forward. So you're dead right, but if I was Jack, I'd be fancying my chances.
The start, I think, could be pretty lively, because it isn't easy to overtake around here. Not impossible, but not easy. And so getting off the line is really important. And of course, it's uphill through Avon Rise, up into that first braking point at Quarry Corner. So if you are carrying a bit of extra weight, then that certainly isn't going to help you. That success ballast that Paul was talking about, by the way, there are two elements of ballast. There's the ballast performance, which is implemented by WSC, who run the TCR concept around the world. So the Hyundais in general are carrying more weight, 60 kilos on board most of the Hyundais. There's then also subsequently championship ballast that is applied a little bit differently actually to other championships, which tend to look at race results or championship standings when it comes to applying ballast. In TCR UK, it is based on fastest laps from the previous round. So at Silverstone, it was the Kent brothers, Lewis and Brad, and Max Hart, who had the three fastest lap times. So they get thrown, I think it's an extra 20 kilos of success ballast on top of the other Hyundais. So they're heavy. That's going to make them slower. It's going to make the cars handle worse. And, Paul, it's going to have an effect on tyre wear.
Yeah, over the duration of the race, it really is. And, 60 kilos is probably about what you weigh, is it?
Let's go with that.
Because it's definitely not what I weigh, mate. Double that and add 20. So, yeah, 60 kilos is probably in stone, I would say probably about 10 stone or something like that. So that is quite a lot of weight. I might have got that figure wrong, but it's a lot. Let me tell you, it is a lot of weight in that car. And what you got to realise is it's not just side to side motion that these cars go through. It's braking with the weight, it's accelerating with the weight. So it's a lot of things, and you can imagine that weight just trying to escape out of the ballast box where it's carried in the car. And every time it does that, it'll scrub the tyre even further across the track. So it'll overheat and it'll wear more. So yeah, to answer your question, you know, Max has got it all to do, and so have the other Hyundai drivers, you know, with that weight in the car.
Yeah, I think all of the drivers, to be fair, are going to have to be mindful of tyre wear over the course of what is a 20-minute race, which, as we can see, is only a moment or so away because the cars are out on their green flag lap now, building some heat into the tyres. You need the tyres to be in their operating window for the first few laps, but after that, tyre management could be important. Let's remind you then of the grid. It's Max Hart on pole position, Jack Constable alongside him on row 1, Hyundai ahead of Cupra, then reverse that for row 2. The Cupra of Dan Kirby is third, with Lewis Kent, joint championship leader alongside Max Hart on the second row of the grid. His younger brother Bradley is on the third row, fifth on the grid, ahead of Darrell Wilson on his return to the championship. Bruce Winfield and Alex Kite, two of the DSG cars, line up on row 4. Alex Kite, a local specialist, former Castle Combe Saloon champion, who's making his TCR debut. Will Butler and Darren Lewis are on row 5. Will Powell and Danny Crevet on the 6th row, with Toby Byrne and Dan Wiley. Dan Wiley debuting the NGTC spec BMW 1 Series rear-wheel drive car. Interesting to see how that factors in amongst the front-wheel drive opposition. Then behind them, we have the VW Racing Cup cars. Jack Depper on pole with Ollie Turner alongside. Ollie didn't even start the first race at Silverstone a few weeks ago, so he'll be hoping for an upturn in fortune today. Russell Joyce will be alone on row 2 because Chris Wallace, we think, is a non-starter, and Jeff Alden will line up at the back of the field. Cars then making their way through Camp Corner. They'll be going a lot quicker through that corner the next time we see them there. That is a full commitment turn. They're using all of that curb on the inside, quite a lot of it on the exit as well. It's a really, really quick turn. Lots of the corners here at Castle Combe really, really focus the mind for the drivers. That is part of the reason why they enjoy it so much. Round number 3 then of the Maximum Networks VW Racing Cup, incorporating the Goodyear Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK, is about to get underway. Max Hart with all of that success ballast, starting from pole position. He is on the left of shot. On the right is Jack Constable. The red lights are about to go on. We're ready to go racing for the first time here today at Castle Combe. Who gets into that first corner first? The lights go out. Now we're away and racing up towards Avon Rise. They go. Jack Constable looks like he's away pretty well from the outside of row number 1. Max Hart tries to come across and cover him, but the Cupra has got the better acceleration, gets his nose alongside. That will be the outside line for Quarry, but Constable was carrying some serious momentum, and he's done it. Constable has the lead as they head towards Quarry for the first time. Hart is second, and Lewis Kent already is into third position ahead of Dan Kirby. Bit of contact between the leaders. Sideways for Kirby on the outside line. Darrell Wilson is through into fourth position, whilst Jack Depper from the lead of the VW Racing Cup goes wide. Ollie Turner's had a nightmare as well, so it's Russell Joyce who has got the race lead in the VWs. Well, Paul, that was a lively start, but Jack Constable knew how important it would be to get ahead of Max Hart early.
He really did, didn't he? And he got away ever so well. I'm a bit concerned about Jack Constable's start. I seen a reflection in the commentary box, and it looked like he was moving before everyone else. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I must say, I didn't see anyone else moving, so he might have had an exceptional start, and other people didn't. But doesn't matter at the minute because he's in the lead. And I tell you what, Max Hart's already flashing his lights. He knows he's got Kent behind him, and Kent will want him for dinner.
Well, that's the big story here, isn't it? Because Max Hart has gone backwards, Lewis Kent has gone forwards. They've met in the middle now. That's Alex Kite out wide. There's a car going to spin in the background, I think, as they came out of the final corner. Did they save it? No, they've got around, and unfortunately Will Powell's involved in that as well. It's a multi-car incident. Alex Kite, I fear that might be pulling off to the left-hand side of the road as well. One of the Cupras, I didn't quite spot which one it was. It was Alex Kite, I think, who ran wide out of Camp Corner, lost control, and was collected, presumably, by the luckless Will Powell and Alex Kite. What a shame. We had such high hopes for him. I noticed he'd had a decent start as well. Sadly, though, he's out at the start of lap 2.
What a nightmare. That looked like cold rear tyres, didn't it? Or maybe cold front tyres. The car just left the circuit and was attached to the grass, come back on. I didn't catch the back end of it, but it looked like a proper tank slapper, and mine and yours, where the car has just tried to go one way and then the other. And Will Powell as well, you said. So the camera car for us is out. What total disaster.
Racing drivers must hate it when they're asked in the morning, do you mind carrying our onboard camera? Because how many times does this happen? And I'll tell you what, Will Powell is due some good luck. He has had nothing but terrible fortune this season, and sadly, his first race start is only going to last just about a lap. The safety car is out, unsurprisingly, with 2 cars at the side of the road at one of the fastest parts of the circuit. I'm not actually that disappointed about that, though, because it gives us a chance to catch our breath after what was a really, really interesting start. The initial jump there, you said, for Constable was good, but then you could just see as he went through the gears, the car was accelerating better. He still had to be quite aggressive, though, to get to the inside once he was clear of Max Hart to block that inside into quarry.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start, however it's seen by anybody. I was literally looking above our TV screen and into the window, but the window reflected behind me, and I could see him moving. So he might have just got an exceptional start compared to the other people on the rows, but that's quite a lot of damage. That's repairable in my eyes, unless it's bent something that maybe one of the teams doesn't have here, but I'm sure they'll get that out, but you just never know, because it took a big old knock that on the front right.
Yes, there is Will Powell, who is out and okay. We saw Alex Kite getting out of his car as well, so that's the main story here, that both of the drivers are absolutely fine, but Will Powell must be wondering what he has to do to have a bit of good luck. There's Alex Kite, who we didn't see how he ended up on the grass, whether he jumped or he was pushed, but through Camp Corner on cold tyres, so easy to run out just that little bit wide. And once you're on the grass, there's not very much grip there, and he spun back across into the road and collected that man there, Will Powell. The order then, Jack Constable leads, never won a race in a front-wheel drive car before has Jack Constable, so he has got himself ahead of the championship leaders, Max Hart and Lewis Kent behind him. I suppose he'll be hoping that they're sort of more preoccupied with each other maybe than challenging him for the lead. Darrell Wilson, 4th place for Darrell Wilson in that Astra. That's an astonishing start. Hasn't driven the car for goodness only knows how long, and he's straight on the pace. He's always gone quite well though here at Castle Combe, it must be said. Dan Kirby, one of the losers there, started 3rd on the grid, dropped down to 5th with that wide moment through Quarry Corner. Bruce Winfield making some nice moves up into 6th position. Bradley Kent drops down to 7th, so there's been quite a lot of shuffling. I don't think anyone's in the position they started in anymore, but quite a few big movers there towards the front. Darrell Wilson in particular catching my eye.
Yeah, me too. You know, it's fair play to him in the proper Larry Green Vauxhall Astra. I love that. I had a quick look before. It's got a Vauxhall badge on the front.
Yes.
So we'll go with Vauxhall Astra for this one. Car looking fantastic. Darrell on the grid actually was, when I was speaking to him, he was very calm. I'm never too calm when it's places like this or Thruxton, you know, where you think you could maybe damage yourself or damage a car. You're always a bit on edge, but he seemed pretty switched on, relaxed, and that was a great first lap from him. He just dealt with what was in front of him, cracked on and got on with it. And you know what? He's got a chance here, you know, to get on the podium, because he's one of those drivers that he hasn't done much around here, so he's always going to be getting faster. It's not like he's plateaued, you know. So he's definitely one to watch in that Larry Green Astra. And again, it's good to see him back out there.
In the VW Racing Cup, by the way, Ollie Turner, who was not happy with his setup at all in qualifying this morning. We saw he had a bit of a spin because the car was handling that badly. They've clearly got that sorted, because he was really on his toes at the start, moving up from 2nd on the grid to take the lead. It looked as though Jack Depper had got off the line better, actually, from pole position, but arrived at Quarry Corner on the lap 1. Completely missed his braking point. So the order in the VWs is Turner from Russell Joyce and Jack Depper in 3rd position. There's Kitey, Alex Kite, who is currently leading, actually, the 2021 Castle Combe Saloon Championship. He's racing here this weekend. I think he stuck it on pole, actually, in his very rapid Audi TT. Done more laps of this circuit, probably, than the entire rest of the grid combined, but it counts for nothing, clearly. And that shows, doesn't it, what a step up this is from club-level racing, competitive club-level racing, admittedly, but into a top-level touring car, a top series like this, where you have to be on it from the word go. The slightest mistake can really cost.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know whether he's had a problem with anything with the car or the tyres. I'm assuming not, but it just shows you, doesn't it, that, you know, these cars are thoroughbreds. They're not very much based on a production car, so to speak. They're very much a racing car, and that means that from the get-go they have to be nervous, because you have to have a nervousness about a front-wheel drive car, because the rear, if it's too grippy at the rear, it will it will just make the front tyres have a really, really hard and short life. So sometimes that can catch you out. But as I said, without seeing it again, I couldn't really call it, but it did look like he just run out of road, and then the grass, obviously with no grip on it, has let the car's rear tyres just let go, and then he just couldn't catch the slide. But that could have been a lot worse, actually, when you're spinning across the front of a load of cars coming out of a fifth gear corner. It's always a bit alarming.
Yes, that's the understatement of the year, I think. Hopefully, we're going to go racing fairly shortly, though, because the field, I noticed, were being bunched up quite heavily by Jack Constable, the race leader, when we last saw them. So maybe he's been given the signal that we're going to go racing, hopefully, at the end of this lap. When we do go racing, he's going to have his hands full. But having Max Hart and Lewis Kent right behind him, no, we're definitely not going racing just yet because the Alex Kite car's not yet out of the way. So one more lap behind the safety car, I would imagine. I'm always fascinated by the psychology of racing drivers. Now, I know it's only early doors in the season, but we are kind of billing this as a Max Hart versus Lewis Kent championship, certainly the way the points are at the moment. If you are a Jack Constable or a Darrell Wilson and you're racing with those guys, you can see that Max and Lewis are together on track. Do you now sort of sit there thinking, okay, this could work in my favour? If those two are really preoccupied with each other, maybe we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that to you. I think, Lewis Kent will obviously not want, as we see Will Powell getting under. I don't know he's probably looking at seeing if there's anything broken on there, maybe, which his Motus One team doesn't have. So he's just trying to make arrangements to get that car out for the second race of the day, a bit later on this afternoon. But yeah, you look behind you as Lewis Kent only now and again and think, Darrell or whoever won't attack me because they know that I'm definitely one of the contenders. But if Darrell's not thinking he's a contender, then he'd be silly because he can definitely win these races. So yeah, I think you treat them with kid gloves to a point, but at the same time, you're always wanting to get one over. But one thing that Max Hart could do is back Lewis Kent into Darrell Wilson, get rid of him, and then try and get past Jack Constable. But while his safety car's out, it's giving his heavier car with maybe higher tyre deg a bit of a chance to have a breather. The safety car lights are out, so we are definitely going to be going racing. That was a quick recovery by those guys, so fair play, Castle Combe and the recovery. That was spot on. Yeah, and a big shout out to the marshals as well, volunteer marshals, as always, doing a brilliant job in rather toasty conditions, and they're not really in the right kind of outfits for this weather. So, yes, we thank them for all of their hard work. Right then, some hard racing about to resume now with half the race gone. Still 10 more minutes to go, and Jack Constable is really backing the field up. Now he steps on the gas, but he's not really pulled much of a gap there, has he, on Max Hart? Hart will be right on his rear bumper as they come out of Camp Corner. No overtaking before they cross the line, which they've now done. They head through Folly, up Avon Rise, and Max Hart tries to get himself within striking distance here before, potentially, he ends up coming under pressure himself from his big championship rival. Bruce Winfield does a bit of rally crossing going up the hill, onto the brakes, through Quarry. Max Hart, even with that ballast there, seemed late on the brakes and closed right back in on the race leader, as Dan Kirby has a big go up the inside now of Darrell Wilson. That was nearly a Brucey bonus that you didn't want, that, wasn't it? Right across the rear wheels. Like, the dampers do not want to be flung up in the air like that, especially across the grasses. This circuit looks very dusty, doesn't it? I know the cars are maybe cutting the curbs a bit, but quite dusty, isn't it? I think from the races we've had before, as Darrell Wilson's being attacked now, but he closes that off, isn't it? And there's Dan Kirby trying to go down the inside of him. But well, look at that. Kent's getting hung out to dry there. There's a lot going on, isn't there, in the middle of that pack? Yeah, it looks as though the battle that's going on for fourth place between Wilson and Kirby, well, I was going to say it's causing a bit of a bottleneck, but they've suddenly caught Lewis Kent, haven't they? So Lewis must have had a moment somewhere there in the middle part of the lap, which has allowed the top two to really get away. Out of camp they go, back across the start-finish line, and we finally get a full racing lap in the book. But look at the gap there. It's 2.5 seconds between Hart in second and Kent in third, and that is brilliant news for Max Hart. It means he's under no pressure from behind, and that was, I think, possibly Bruce Winfield again getting on the grass. Darrell Wilson, though, up the inside of Lewis Kent for third place. Into Quarry Corner they go. Out of Quarry Corner, the Hyundai tries to fight back. There's a bit of door panel bashing as they go towards the chicane. Darrell Wilson is not backing down from this fight. Well, he really isn't he? That was a great move, that. But I tell you what, Lewis Kent is having a nightmare. Something's going on with him. He's like 2.1 seconds slower than the front two. I don't know whether he can't get his tyres up to temperature or what, but an absolute nightmare for him there, as he's definitely I'm thinking lost that place as they come through the second chicane, maybe.
Yes, we'll find out now. Here come the race leaders then, down towards the final corner at Camp Corner, and it is still Constable from Max Hart, but what's going on behind it is Wilson third then, Lewis Kent fourth, Dan Kirby is fifth, and Bruce Winfield is still there, which quite frankly is a victory for him after that huge moment that he had going up through Avon Rise on both of the previous 2 laps. He didn't scare himself enough the first time, so he took even more grass the next time round. Let's see if he stays on the black stuff this time. Through the first corner they go then. This is all the battle for third position. At the back of the queue, look, Bradley Kent looking to the outside of Darren Lewis, that is, in the first of the 2 Mercedes A-classes. Through that right-hander at Quarry, such a challenging corner. So many great racing drivers have made mistakes there over the years. No such issues though for Bradley Kent. He carried good speed out of there, tried to get up the inside of Darren Lewis as they head towards the S's, and we'll find out in a moment or two whether or not he was able to make that one stick. Lap time wise though, Paul, Max Hart is not really feeling that extra weight at the moment, is he?
Doesn't seem to be, does it? I tell you, he's putting big pressure on as they come now through. Well, this is out of the second chicane, but when you see them come into the last corner camp, I was just watching, it looks like that is where Max Hart is right on him now. He's gonna definitely have a go at him coming out of camp. Watch this. He'll try and get the car turned in a bit quicker across the curb, cut it. Oh, Constable's had to react to that as a big moment. This is the run now. This is the run for the lead.
Yeah, Max Hart's in the slipstream, but he's got to lug all of that weight up the hill. He takes to the grass to try and shorten the circuit. Has he bought himself the inside line? No, not quite. Jack Constable goes to the inside to defend. Max Hart to the outside to try and attack. There's just no way through, and they've got to be patient. Bit of a tap in the tail from Hart once, twice, nearly 3 times. Jack Constable just isn't getting out of the way, and why should he? He may be racing in this championship to learn front-wheel drive this year, but if he can pick up race wins, he's clearly prepared to fight tooth and nail for them.
Wow. That was exactly what we've been hoping for, isn't it? Close racing, no quarter given, none taken. That was absolutely spot on. That lead was looking like it was massively diminished as they come across the line. But tell you what, this circuit has produced what we thought it would, and that is high-speed battles and coming, toe-to-toe with people over those bumps and those curbs. He's pretty much a lead change, so into the lead is Max Hart.
Yeah, so Max Hart then out the back of the circuit has got through ahead of Jack Constable for the race lead. And Max Hart, there's a bit of damage, look to the front of the car. Now, I'm no Inspector Clouseau, but I reckon there might have been a bit of an assist there as he went through, but we'll wait and see what's said about that after the race, shall we? For now, Max Hart is trying to make good his escape. He's got the clear air. He may be in the heavier, in theory, slower car, but he clearly has the speed now to get away. Right, let's focus on third place then, shall we? Because Lewis Kent is still on the tail of Darrell Wilson there as he tries to fight his way through. The leaders flash through out of Quarry Corner. Behind them, it's Wilson third, Kent fourth, Winfield fifth, Bradley Kent then in sixth. Still the order as they flash past our camera at the top of the circuit. Then it's Dan Kirby, who's having a bit of a nightmare, isn't he, really? Back in the VW Cup, though, it is the race lead for Ollie Turner still by 1.1 seconds over Jack Depper, with Russell Joyce in third. So we have now got the 2 quickest drivers, I think it's fair to say, in the VW Cup, back into the top 2 positions, but a bit of a gap between the 2.
Joyce will have been loving that, though, wouldn't he?
Yes.
He was leading for a bit. I bet he was like, yeah, boy. And his best mate there, Jeff Alden, just following. So nice battles throughout the field between friends. Darrell Wilson still fending off. I tell you what, he's got a right old meal on his plate there, isn't he? Because he's going to really struggle to keep those guys behind. Lewis Kent is after him, but he's getting backed up into everybody now.
I think there's been a change behind them as well. It looks like Darren Lewis is potentially ahead of Dan Kirby. Yes, he is for 7th, but for 3rd place, are we about to see a change at Quarry Corner? Just under 4 minutes left on the clock, and Lewis Kent needs these points. He'll have been told by the team, right, Max has got the lead. He's getting away from Constable now as well, so a race win for Lewis's big championship rival looks on the cards. Essential now, isn't it, for Lewis to try, it's damage limitation really, score all the points that he can, try and lessen the damage that's being done to him by Max Hart in the championship. Mindful all the time, of course, is Lewis, that in race 2, we've got this partially reversed grid. So even if he finishes behind Max in this race, he'll start ahead of him in race 2.
Yeah, and that's what you've got to think about. But, I mean, Lewis Kent really has to get past Darrell, and Darrell's got the pace, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I must say, when you come out of Camp Corner, the last corner, if you're not close enough, and you haven't got the momentum like he hasn't at the minute, he'll close in on him as he comes down. Watch how the Astra now reacts to this corner. So he's in not too much bouncing across the curbs, but he has to really think about defending straight away. But that time, he's actually got a good run because the Hyundai behind him will run out of puff as it goes up the hill with that extra ballast in it.
Oh, the other one isn't, though, is it? That's Bradley Kent almost into the boot of Bruce Winfield's DSG Cupra, let's not forget. That car should probably not be in the top 5, but Bruce is really pedalling it well. This is Winfield's first season of touring car racing. He's the reigning Civic Cup champion, so a front runner in front-wheel drive tin-top categories in the past, but nothing at this level. He might be the driver of the day for me at the moment. He and Darrell Wilson, we know that Darrell has the potential to be quick, but this is definitely the best we've seen of Bruce so far.
Yeah, that's great. You know, I'm not going to say anything bad about that new line that he's took going up to Quarry, because he's used a bit of grass and dust and he seems to have got the job done, so he seems like he's going okay. The one thing I will say I've just seen fall out of the order is Dan Kirby. He's like a lap down now, so he must have maybe come in the pits, which is a shame. He's been struggling with that left rear tyre, as in trying to get heat into it. Every time I've watched him on track, he was sliding all over the place. Darrell Wilson has really got a big train of cars behind him now. Those tyres are getting worked hard. Look at Kent. He's having to defend straight away as Darrell, because Kent is on him and he needs to be in his toe to have a right lunge at him. He's right with him now. This could be it.
Lewis has to be careful, though, because Bruce Winfield and his brother Bradley are right behind him, so he daren't really go to the outside here, much as he'd like to get the better exit from Quarry, because that will leave the door wide open for Winfield. He goes as wide as he dares, but Winfield does exactly what I thought he'd do and tries to fill the gap on the inside. They've got Darren Lewis catching them now in 7th place, looking the Mercedes A-Class, having cleared Kirby a few laps ago. You're right, Kirby has gone missing, apparently out on track, though, rather than the pit lane. Now, this is the battle for the lead of the VW Cup. I want to see the front end of Ollie Turner's Golf, though, because that blue and yellow car, the bonnet looked like it was peeling up to me, and that could be a major, major drama. He's being caught by Jack Depper, and that will certainly catch your attention. Yes, look, the front bodywork just peeling away at the front of the bonnet. Not something you want at such a high-speed circuit as this.
Right, breaking news. 10-second penalty for car 11, which is Jack Constable. So that's what we were chatting about. It did look like a jump start, but the end of the race is coming up.
Yes, indeed. Now, Darrell Wilson, I think, made a mistake there. 3 bobbies, and there's contact at Camp Corner. The checkered flag, though, has gone out, I believe, and it is Max Hart that takes the victory. Jack Constable second, but third place was just, and I mean just, Darrell Wilson by, well, let's have a look. So Wilson by a quarter of a second over Lewis Kent fourth, who was 63 one-thousandths of a second ahead of his brother Bradley in fifth, who got past Bruce Winfield on the final lap. So, well, what a dramatic battle that was there for third position. Some really terrific racing. Bruce Winfield's going to be a bit disappointed, I'm sure, to have dropped down a place there, but he could still be really proud of how he drove in that race. The VW leaders go through. Meanwhile, it's Ollie Turner with the race win. Jack Depper second, was only 9 tenths behind him at the flag, though, so Jack Depper perhaps taking advantage there of the issues for Ollie Turner with that bonnet that was peeling up, but wasn't in the end quite able to get there in time. So 10-second penalty then, as Paul said, for Jack Constable, which means he's going to lose quite a few places because he was 6.5 seconds ahead of Wilson in third. Add 10 seconds to his time, he's going to fall behind Darren Lewis. That will be 7th on corrected time for Jack Constable. That must have been for that jump start that we... Paul noticed, and a couple of other people have messaged me saying, yeah, I think he might have been creeping a bit early there. So Jack Constable, unfortunately, with that 10-second penalty. Now, that means Darrell Wilson is going to inherit second place, and Lewis Kent will get on the podium in third. So, as it happens, Lewis Kent still ends up on the podium, and Darrell Wilson likewise. What a result that is for Darrell Wilson. I think he's had one podium in the past, possibly, but certainly not a frequent visitor to the top 3 over the years, despite undoubtedly having the pace, and he had... elbows the size of Jupiter there to keep, well, everyone behind him, really. Lewis Kent, Bradley Kent, Bruce Winfield, Darren Lewis, who were all queuing up behind him. There was a bit of contact, actually, between Lewis and Darrell at the last corner, and Darrell Wilson did well to hang on to it. It sort of held everybody up behind, but actually, by the time it got to the line, there were no further changes of position. So... deep breath, everyone. That was only race 1. We get to do that all over again later on in the day, because there are 2 races coming up here from Castle Combe. The second race of the day, due to start at about 5:15, will be on air from about 5 o'clock with the pre-race build-up for that one. And plenty to talk about in between races. That was a really, really lively race, and the Bank Holiday Monday crowd here at Castle Combe have really had a show put on for them there. And there you can see the crowd all enjoying the Bank Holiday sunshine. So good to have spectators back at the racetracks. We keep on labouring this point, but it hasn't really been the same without them. And so to have people here able to return to the circuit at what is always a really popular circuit for spectators, actually, probably Castle Combe of all of the circuits in the UK probably has the best crowd attendances, considering it doesn't really host your sort of headline championships like most of the other circuits do. The crowds that they still get, even for their basic club level meetings, are big because they only run maybe half a dozen or so events over the course of the year. So the locals, when they get the chance to come to the track and watch the races, are only too happy to do so. Well, there is Will Powell's car. There's the view on board with Will Powell's car. We were hoping to see a bit more action than this, but farming enthusiasts out there might be getting something useful out of this view of the cornfield. But apart from that, we'll hopefully get the car back out there in race 2, and if he'll let us, we'll keep the onboard camera in the car for that one. And that was a really, really unfortunate incident there between Alex Kite and Will Powell. Didn't see how it started, didn't quite see how it ended, but we did see the end result, which was a very bent and broken Hyundai and a probably even more badly damaged Cupra of Alex Kite. And a real shame there for both of them, for different reasons really. I mean, they were both sort of making their debuts after Will Powell's electrical issues at Silverstone kept him from racing, but the Alex Kite Cupra also was looking to hopefully have some good results here this weekend, as he tried to put his local knowledge to good use. So the Hyundai is pulled back onto the low loader. Of course, that result for Max Hart, the race victory, will give him another 25 championship points. I think he got the fastest lap as well, Max Hart. 26 championship points actually for Max, whereas Lewis Kent, who finished only third in the end on corrected times, gets 20, which means that provisionally, very, very early days in the championship, of course, but provisionally there will now be a cushion of some 6 points between Max and Lewis, but we still have another race to go later on. And of course, with this reversal of the grid, or a partial reversal of the grid, we can guarantee that Lewis will now be starting a couple of places ahead of Max. And given the pace that Lewis had early in the race, and late in the race actually, it was just the middle bit where he seemed to have that issue, but the pace that he showed at certain times during that race should allow him, hopefully, to take the fight to Max Hart in the next one. He's certainly not going to want to let Max through. Little bit of needle starting to develop between those two teams as well, I've noticed this weekend, which honestly isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it certainly spices up the battle between the both young up-and-coming drivers. Lewis, of course, the reigning TCR champion, and Max Hart in his second season of TCR competition in the UK. Came out of single-seaters, did Max Hart originally. Was a race winner last year in TCR UK, won the very last race of the year at Donington Park, having already claimed 6 third-place finishes. As I say, came out of single-seaters before that, though. Runner-up in the Mono 1000 Championship in 2019. He's even raced in Asian Formula 4, where he finished third. So Max, a very, very promising young talent, clearly has the backing behind him to allow him to go and race a pretty high-profile championship such as this one, and that he hopes will allow him eventually to win the championship. Right, let's head down to Paul then, who's with our podium finishers.
Wowzers, what a race. Castle Combe, fastest place on earth. Max Hart, you know, he's sweating again. Why are you not sweating?
I don't know, it's so warm in there, like I'm foaming at the mouth here with thirst.
Mate, was that race won on the restart?
Barely even warming my tyres as it was so warm, so I left to the last lap. And yeah, the restart was good. You could see with the bop I was struggling down the straight and exit corners, but other than that we were good. Yeah.
So pretty made up, and the start wasn't fantastic, was it? But it did look to me like Jack actually jumped the start, to be fair, when I was looking at the comms box.
So I've been told that he's got a penalty, but I'm unsure if that's true or not. It would have been nice to know that out there, alright. I could have settled for second and then got the first, but we did it the right way, which is great. At the start, the car bogged down, so I had to give it a blip of the clutch just a little bit just to get the revs back up. And well, Jack obviously he got a fantastic start and he had me before the first corner, so I did try look up the inside of the first corner, but there was no space.
And when you got past, how was that move for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was just down into that long right hander just before the second chicane, and I just nipped in behind him, and then I just took it out last minute and just got the move done nice and easy.
Look proper pro. So on to the next one. We've got to get wins today.
Yeah, so I've got to pass 5 more people, I suppose, for the next one, so give it my all. I just want to thank all my sponsors as well. They're all over me. Without them I wouldn't be able to be here, so thankfully I have them with me.
Top man, excellent. Have a good one, mate. Well done. Absolutely spot on. Cracking race that was, and his team giving everybody a clap. We're looking for Jack Constable. If I can, he's here to the right. My word, he's come over. Right, let's get over here, Captain, and let's socially distance. Listen, mate, you've probably heard that interview I've just done, and I must admit, I looked out the comms box and I thought you'd got like an awesome start compared to the rows that were in front. Have you been given the penalty? What's going on? Are you going to try and respond to that?
Yeah, so I think we did get a 10-second. I just crept out of the box, but I stopped again. Just not used to the clutch bite in this, but we'll get there. It just needs a bit more practice. I've only done 3 starts in the car since we've had it, so here's what it is, and we're learning as we go on.
And I must admit, mate, you led that properly and nicely. Good old battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. Like I've not had a wheel-to-wheel race for ages now, and it feels like a year ago, but just a bit of a buzz. It's nice to...
That's what it's about, though, isn't it? And I looked at your car through Camp Corner, mate, that you had to go faster and faster to keep Max behind, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth pushing for sure. I've not got anything in the bag. But we'll make some tweaks, and if we come back fighting a bit stronger.
Top man, I thought you did a good job, mate, so spot on. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, mate.
No worries. Excellent stuff from Jack. Here he is, Darryl Wilson. Mate, he needs a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Mate, we'll socially distance. We'll come this way, fella, but I think I'm your good luck charm for speaking to you before you went out.
I think you are indeed. It was a tough race, man. Last couple of laps, my brake started to go, so I was struggling really bad, and we need to leave more rear end grip, really, just killing our tyres there where we're struggling. We had a good start and then it faded off to the end, but I think everybody did, but I think we did it more than others. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Second place I think I got now because somebody got a penalty, so yeah, I'm happy with it.
Did you see it? Ford's coming out for number 11.
I seen it for 38. I seen a warning flag for 38. That was the car behind me, so I was hoping they would get a black flag turn.
But there was a bit of action, wasn't there? But you just kept it all on the straight and narrow.
They were fighting in front of me, and then I managed to dive from the inside of Lewis Kent on the 3rd lap, I think. He left the door wide open. I think my car's quicker in the braking zone there, where he was quicker coming onto the straight, so it was vice versa, really. But yeah, I'm happy with it.
How difficult was it to keep the guys behind? Because P2's great, but...
Yeah, we got there. I've run on the grass, and that was the court move so much over the line. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Second place, I can't go wrong with it.
I can't tell that you're out. You're not happy, mate.
Yeah, can't stop winning.
Good man, well done, absolutely spot on, well done. Good stuff from the guys. So in 3rd place for you, where is he? Joycey, come on, captain. Here he is. Russell Joyce, P3.
I know, I can't believe it. Can you? Can you?
You were leading the race.
Yeah, that's all a dream. I'll wake up in a minute. Yeah, they were. You know what it's like. Things presented themselves and I took advantage of it. And I think the quick boys were a bit shocked to see me there at one stage. I was shocked to see me there. Hey ho.
But it was great though, wasn't it? It's great to lead. When you look behind you and you're like, oh, I am the lead car. It's like, in your class, it's just unreal.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time getting the rears nice and warm, even though it's a hot day today. And I knew I could lean on them a bit more. Got my start I got ahead of the two guys, and actually Jack gifted me going into quarry. He went so deep and locked up, and I went round, and then I was in the lead. So, but made a few mistakes. We had a few selector problems going into third, which cost me a bit, and then they gapped it, and I thought, let's just take the points, get a bit of silverware, and go home, and everyone will think I'm a superstar. So,
Absolutely awful.
yeah, definitely. It's a mega track, isn't it? It's a mega track, super fast. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
It's
Yeah, well, you.
good lad, spot on from Russell's voice. So cool to see him in P3. P2, here he is, Sir Chris Hoy, also known as Jack Depper. Mate, listen, what went on there? Because we had you down for the win, but P2's good.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It could be worse. Yeah, well, on the start, Joycey got a really good start. Ollie had a decent start as well. So going down the straight, I was looking in my mirror thinking, two cars side by side. So then I went a little bit too deep into the first corner, lost the back, and of course they both went past me. And from there, I got past Joyce on the restart, but then me and Ollie were just matching time. So, you know, he wasn't gapping me, we were just there. So there's not much I could do. However, there is another race. So
always on a positive note. Listen, like you say, you get on.
No, the car was fantastic. It was purely just me going in too deep. So instead of racing in my mirrors, I need to look ahead and actually hit my braking point. So that's it. And then hopefully, if I do that, then I should come home with a nice trophy that says number 1 on it.
Well, I'm sure you'll be spot on, fella. Well done. Absolutely cracking to speak to Jack. First place, and our winner, who I'm sure will be absolutely made up with his overalls that look like they've never done a day's work in their life. What do you use, like Daz Ultra or something, Ollie?
Weetabix.
What, to wash your clothes? They're so white.
Oh, right. Breakfast, never mind. But no, I was insane. I really enjoyed that one. That was awesome stuff. Yeah.
We were a bit concerned in the commentary box about the front of your car. You obviously had a pin or something break, or it wasn't any contact, or what was that?
Yeah, to be honest, I was quite confused going through the whole race. I was like, there's a bit of a weird flapping noise, and I was like, that'll be when I clipped the tyre barrier in the chicane and qualifying. And I was like, right, that'll be it. But yeah, no, the bonnet was flapping up for some reason, and it was actually causing quite a lot of drag, so it was a big disadvantage. So yeah, I was lucky. I'm buzzing. Such a good race anyway.
Sometimes, mate, the luck is on your side, isn't it?
It is this time, so I'm happy. And I just want to thank my sponsors and all my family here. Got loads of people support me this weekend, and it's just awesome to get the win for them, really.
Top man, it's good to see a smiley face, mate. Well done. Have a good rest of the day.
Very much. Smiling loads, that's all we want.
Top lad. Excellent, we love it. Right, where is my partner in crime? He's here. Andy McHugh. Why are you wearing that jacket, mate?
Well, it's just not warm enough for me. Anything below about 20 degrees, I go into hibernation.
I think that gentleman's got a nice... Don't look at this guy with the top on. We're just going to... These guys are going to get the podium going in a minute, but actually, we'll have a quick word. Lewis, I think you're going to be promoted, to the podium, aren't you? Is that right?
Yeah, we think so. We think Jack may have a 10-second penalty. We're just waiting for confirmation at the moment. There's a few other things we're going to take up with Clark on a different other moves as well. But third at the moment, more points in the bag.
Difficult race, mate.
Yeah, the tyres took really long to come in. After that, we were stuck behind people, and we had people behind us trying to do some lunges. So it was just hard keeping people behind and at the same time trying to get past. Darrell is very, very good on the defensive game. We've learned that over the years, and he's a very good driver. But, third's good. We're going to see what happens after. You never know, it might be even further up.
What's it like with the waiting, mate, when you're trying to battle with Darrell, who's, like you say, great defensive driver, but it is a difficult that I could see when you were going up the crest. If you hadn't got the run through the last corner, you weren't anywhere.
Yeah, we usually, if we had no weight, we'd use 6th gear at the top of the straight, and we're in 5th unless we're in a tow. And even in the tow, when you're sitting right behind Darrell, right on his back bumper, he still pulls away. It is very hard having 60 kg on board. It's like having another person in the car with you. So it is a massive disadvantage, but again, I've done it for 4 years now. I've had the same weight in for 4 years, so I kind of know how to get around it. But yeah, it's just how TCR runs. It's called BOP, Balanced Performance, so it tries to keep it a nice level playing field, but it's one of those ones where it's like, It's a shame because all these car companies make such good cars and develop them for a reason. Then to be knocked back and penalised is a bit silly, but at the same time it does make for good racing, so it's one of those things.
Yeah, there is certain other touring car championships that have made a good living, isn't there, out of balancing everything up. So it's good to see you keeping you cool though, mate, and like you say, you're on the podium and next race will be a good one.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Top man, have a good one. Let you crack on with the podium and the team. The guys are actually cracking on, but I want to speak to Andy McEwen. Andy, come back in. Sorry, mate. I was too busy checking out your man's tattoos that you can't see, but behind the camera, there's a lad, top off. I can tell I'm down south. It's like, it's not even 20 degrees, but your man's getting a suntan with his tattoos out. Andy, sum that up. Oh, no, he's gone for it as well. The camera...
You know, and at a circuit like this, that takes some real doing. So yeah, great racing. Such a shame for Jack Constable getting that penalty. It was great to see him up there on the podium fighting with Max, but yeah, lots to talk about after that one.
Bruce,
wasn't he just? I mean, how he saved that car. You saw it the first time, I saw it the second. He was completely sideways. I don't know if he was unsighted or something, didn't see the grass there, or whether he genuinely thought it was the quickest line, but yeah, that was a huge hop, skip and a jump. But he was putting in some good moves, and his long run pace was pretty strong as well. So for someone with so little experience of the car, seriously impressive.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I've got to try and speak to him maybe for the build-up of the second race, because honestly that was fantastic. But Darrell Wilson promoted to P2, we think. Jack Constable kind of said to me, I knew I jumped the start, struggling with the clutch bite. So, but I called it, didn't I? And that was through a window. I was thinking he's either got an electric start or... But forget about the jump start. He was leading the race, and it was a good move when he got it done at the end of the first straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? He'll learn so much now from doing that, because at Silverstone, yes, he was in battles with people, but it wasn't your Max Harts of the championship. You know, going toe-to-toe with Max takes some real doing. So the fact that Jack kept him behind for as many laps as he did, he'll have learned a lot there about how to drive and how to race in a touring car. So, you know, coming from rear-wheel drive, GT kind of racing, this is a completely different beast. So I think he'll look back at that, he'll analyse the data, watch the onboard footage as well, and he'll come back stronger in race 2.
Yeah, and we were just speaking to Lewis then, and he was talking about, you know, he's getting a bit hot under the collar. I could see what he was saying about, you know, maybe there was a few moves where he was backed into people that he might take up the clock of the course. But the racing is looking like what we expect it to be. We knew we'd come in, it'd be close, but that was cool, wasn't it? Really cool.
And the thing is, it should be hard to win, right? Because if it was easy, no one would want to do it. You know, you see other championships out there that are so successful year after year because it's never easy to win. You never know who the front runners are going to be. So I actually quite like, after 4 years, seeing him have to really fight for it, you know, getting his elbows out, having to try and suss out different drivers and different ways of overtaking. The BOP is certainly making his life harder, but he was still on the podium. So, you know, I think we're going to see some really good racing from him. He's going to be fired up for race 2, that's for sure. He'll be ahead of Max on the grid for race 2. That's going to be really tasty.
Yeah, there's going to be definitely a lot of people to look out for as the grid has gone and left and the race is done, but the podium is looking very good. The guys taking the trophies. We're going to be back live just before 5 o'clock, so please join us, because I've got a feeling the partially reversed grid is going to be a beauty. And he'll do a good job at saying stuff about it, and I'll also just chip in a bit as well. So we'll see you a bit later on, just before 5. Join us again.